Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation and digital story, and a special welcome to Fatos Radoniki. Thank you very much for being here today. So from the beginning, we didn't really know exactly what to pursue, and we were giving the topic of airlines. And from the beginning, we thought, okay, well, maybe it would be interesting to do something about plane crashes, because plane crashes obviously scare off people from flying. And so in the beginning, we thought we'd investigate how plane crashes affect the stock prices. But from there on, we didn't really know how to continue. We thought it would be very interesting to do something about plane crashes, as I said. So we started to Google and check online for specific articles, and we found that one that was very relevant to our study. It was about plane crashes, so I'll let you do that one, Willie. Over to you.
All right, before we talk about the article, I just want to give a brief overview of the airline industry. So the airline industry is built up of three components. We have commercial, general, and military. And today we'll be focusing on solely commercial airlines. Commercial aviation helps drive more than $1.5 trillion per year for the US economy. And it actually creates 11 million jobs. So that just goes to show how big it is for the US economy. And there are currently 17 operating commercial airlines. All right, now to the article. So we were able to find an article about our subject, and it's called Crisis in the Cockpit. So researchers found that for crashes caused by pilot error, the airline experienced significantly negative stock return. And in cases where engine failure or weather or other reasons were determining factors, the stock market made little to no reaction. And they concluded that negligent behavior from airline employees directly affected the stock of the company. And they made this conclusion by analyzing data from over 30 crashes. So we believe that this is a pretty sound conclusion. All right, so this is our final question. Does engine failure in commercial airline plane crashes affect stock prices of competing airlines differently than pilot error? So when we were initially conducting our data, we found that with some airplane crashes, there was no effect to the stock value, and with others, that there was a direct negative effect actually, and we wanted to see what was causing that difference. So we ended up using 4 total cases to analyze our data, and we used 2 from engine failures and 2 from pilot error. Over to you, Alfred.
After our presentation, we got some pretty good feedback from our professor, Fatos, thank you. Also by seeing Michael's presentation of the beverage company and how sponsorship deals affected the stock price, and how they were able to predict stock prices and compare it to their actual stock price and the returns on those specific days. So what we did is, after our presentation, we gathered a whole year's worth of stock prices, calculated the percent change, found the slope, found the intercept, and were able to predict some stock returns for all the airlines on that specific date for each accident. So what we have here is the adjusted closing price for S&P, the S&P 500, the adjusted closing price for Delta, and what we did is we calculated the percent change in returns on both. And then what we did is we found the slope, the intercept, and given those, we were able to get a prediction on the returns by adding these together, multiplying them by the percent change in returns of S&P 500. And we're able to do that for the day of and the day after the crash, and include that include standard deviation in our bar graph to get a visual representation of what was going on. So this is my case, Delta Airlines, flight 1086. The significance of this case was that there was a pilot error, and that is what caused the crash in this accident. So given our analysis, our original analysis was we did the percent change in the stock price for Delta and its competitors the day before, the day of, and the day after the crash. And we compared those to the year prior, the average return of the year prior. And what was significant about this case is that every single airline experienced a negative return. To see it, what we wanted to find, and that's what pretty much proved our hypothesis. What we would have liked is more cases to analyze in this way to further strengthen our argument. So what we did after getting some ideas from Michael's group is we found the predicted, actual, and standard deviation for the day of and the day after the crash. What you see here is the predicted, the actual standard deviation. From a naked eye, you may say, well, the actual falls within the standard deviation. But given the accident, it wasn't necessarily a severe accident, but the significance in our case is that it affected the entire market or portfolio. So we feel that if someone had died or the crash was more severe than what it was, this would be a larger effect. We got on our feedback on the presentation was to make some graphs instead of having just Excel sheets on there. So this is basically a visual representation of what we had on our Excel sheet. So you can see as the percent change in price was negatively affected across the entire market, which was the first case to have happened.
So basically for our conclusion, we would like to have more data to analyze. We were only able to use 4 cases because there was only 4 significant crashes in the last 15 years. But using our article, we were able to kind of support our overall thesis or support our overall findings of our paper, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. What obviously wasn't like ideal was that having 4 cases and investigating this special edition that we did, like the effect on the competitors that the paper didn't do. Having basically a bigger sample size would be beneficial to this project. It doesn't really make a well-established pattern for the competitors.
Should I talk about this standard deviation?
Should we?
I should maybe just
reveal it? Yeah, let's do it.
Make it dramatic.
Wait, I'll go like this.
This just in.
Dude!
I can include that right there.
Yeah, we realized that we made one mistake when we were calculating the standard deviation of the predicted returns. I did, I guess, a typo, or I just didn't think about it that much. When I was calculating the standard deviation, I did it for the returns of the actual returns, and obviously it would have been better to do it for the predicted returns. Yeah. And so that's obviously wrong in our project, but we thought it was kind of odd.
Yeah, but when we found it, we were like kind of like in disbelief because it didn't go coincide with what we were saying. But the good thing about it is that it only proves our findings more. It only proves the negative stock, the difference in the stock price or the return is larger than it's outside the standard deviation.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. It had, when you were comparing the different standard deviations of the actual returns and the predicted, obviously the predicted that's going with the S&P 500 should be much lower. Mm-hmm. The fluctuations in the actual were way more, and so if you would use the standard deviation of the prediction, the predicted return, then it should be lower, and it would have kind of strengthened our case, I think. Yeah. The actual returns would have been outliers way more.
Yeah. Pretty much we kind of proved we found an answer to our question.
Yeah.
We were right, but with more cases we'd be more right.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun. The whole process was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was good fun. We learned a lot.
A lot of fun. And maybe one more thing we would like to kind of analyze is to see if more deaths in a plane crash kind of play a more vital role in the change in the stock price.
Yeah.
When we were reading the article, we saw that with more deaths, it actually increased the negative change in the stock price. So we would just like want to look into more recent plane crashes, or if we could, and see if that those findings would coincide.
Yeah. There was a lot of different factors that you can take into account and take a different direction with it. But we did include a section in the end of our paper, areas of improvement. And if you took all of those into account, you'd have a very well-founded paper.